Are you feeling anxious or stressed this holiday season? You're not alone.
I think just that reminder of the closeness of God is something that we need and something that brings that peace that we're missing the rest of the year. And I don't think we're missing it because God's not giving it. I think we're missing it because we are not open to it. We're not ready for it.
This is CIA, Contagious Influencers of America. I'm David Sams. Today I have Hannah Kerr with me right here at the homestead. She's a Kerr recording artist and songwriter with something like 146 million career streams to her credit, including her top 15 hit Warrior. And she's right now on tour with Big Daddy Weave, but she's got something very special. It Came Upon a Midnight Clear. That's her new single, and it hits the market on November the 15th. And you're going to love this, and you're going to love her when you see her in just a second here on the podcast. And the really cool thing is that she's going to be co-hosting our Keep the Faith Christmas Marathon on Christmas week and our Keep the Faith Countdown to Christmas Marathon. And that's going to be Thanksgiving week. And it's going to be airing on stations all across America. So do contact your local Christian station and tell them, I want to hear Hannah Kerr on the Keep the Faith Countdown to Christmas Marathon and the Keep the Faith Christmas Marathon airing in just a few weeks. I can't wait for you to hear this young lady. She was remarkable. I've never had the opportunity to meet her before, but boy, was I was so very impressed. So let's get to my interview with Hannah Kerr. Well, welcome, Hannah. Welcome to the homestead. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. You live in the area?
I do, actually. I grew up in Brentwood, so this is really close to where I grew up. My parents are kind of like your neighbors. They don't live in this neighborhood, but this is a beautiful home. Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about your journey a little bit, okay? Tell me a little bit about how you got started in music. I know that you were singing in church as a toddler, right?
Yep.
So tell me about your journey.
Yeah, so I grew up with two parents who are worship leaders, so I have always been in music. I've always sung. It's just kind of what my family did growing up. When I moved to Nashville in 2011, I really struggled with that move, and it was right before my freshman year of high school, and just a really hard time to leave my home in Buffalo and move to a totally new place. So I started writing songs and just kind of playing guitar alone in my room from the time I was 13, just as a way of coping with some of the anxiety and the sadness that I felt in that season. And my parents heard me, kind of singing in my room, and they literally forced me to audition for the worship team at church. So I auditioned and I started singing in the student band at my church. And that was kind of the first moment of my life that I can really remember just knowing I belonged somewhere. And I felt like when I was leading worship, I felt the most like the person I was supposed to be. And I felt the closest to the Lord. And my faith just started growing so much in that time. And so I was leading worship at church. I got connected with Mark Miller, who's the producer of Casting Crowns and the lead singer of Sawyer Brown. He's so cool and became like a family friend to us. And he visited my church and he heard me leading worship and approached me after the service and was like, the Holy Spirit told me that we're supposed to work together. And I was like, well, he didn't tell me that. But I was open to what he was saying and I trusted the Lord in him. And so I started kind of working with him and playing him the songs that I had written and recording some things. And my song Warrior was actually the very first song that I recorded with him, which is kind of crazy looking back. But it's been an amazing journey. I never thought I would do this. I thought that I would go to college and be a teacher and, whatever. I just thought my life would look so different, but I'm so grateful to do music. I feel like God has prepared me my whole life to do this. And I just have a really good foundation of faith and music in my home. And now I've been able to kind of own that faith for myself. So it's been a really great journey full of lots of ups and downs, but music is everything to me and my faith is everything to me. And so to get to do that together is just really beautiful.
So for somebody listening to this right now and they're saying, man, I just don't know what my deal is. I don't know what my purpose is. I think maybe I'll become this or that. Let's talk about the surprise element on how God kind of knew all along what the plan was, and how he sort of, in a way, snuck up on you and tapped you on the shoulder and go, hey, by the way, you're meant for this. Talk to somebody who's waiting for that sort of that calling, that moment, and how it can happen for them.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, we all have a God-given purpose, and whether we know it or not, like, we've been given gifts that we're called to use. And I think for somebody who's kind of waiting on God's direction, I think you do what God has placed inside you, whether it's your gifts or your talents, like, use those for his glory and just keep walking forward. Whatever doors are open in front of you that you feel peace to walk through, I think just take another step forward through those doors, and God's going to make it clear, while you're there, if you're supposed to keep going or change directions or stop or whatever it is. I think also, if you're not able to hear the Lord, I had a mentor tell me, if you can't hear what God is telling you to do next, go back to the last thing he told you and just keep following that. So if God told you to start learning to play the guitar, but you don't have an opportunity to play it publicly yet, just keep learning to play the guitar, and that opportunity is going to come. So I think I would just say to be faithful with what God has given you to do right now, and trust that in his timing, he's going to call you to what you're supposed to do at the perfect time. There's nothing about the calling of God that needs to be forced. I think our flesh wants to force things and bend, our circumstances to our will, but the Lord is perfect timing, and he is always moving in our lives. And so if we just do what gives peace and just go where we feel like he's leading us, he's going to tap us on the shoulder and show us what to do next.
How do you know how do you know when you think you hear something from God, it's from God and not just you convincing yourself that?
If I knew the answer to that, I'd be better off. No, I think for me, I can tell if it's the Lord's voice, if it just comes with so much peace. I think my own voice, it comes with a lot more questions and fear, and just there's not an assurance of my own voice. I'm like, well, should I do this or should I do this? But the times that I've really felt like I've heard from the Lord, it's just a knowing. It just feels as simple as breathing to believe whatever it is. And I also think that if you have great community and great mentors around you, they can confirm the word of God in your life. There's been times where I thought I heard something from the Lord and I didn't tell anyone, and I just kind of held it in my heart. And then someone else has come to me and said, hey, I had a dream about you, and this is what, I feel like God is saying. And it confirmed what I thought I heard. So I think there's a lot of ways to confirm. And we also do have to be so careful when we claim something is from the Lord. So I'm very careful about that. I definitely don't say like, oh, this is definitely from God and just run with it. I have to be pretty sure if I know it's from him.
Let's talk a minute about overcoming life's challenges. And how do you find the ability to, how do you find strength in adversity?
Yeah. For me, a lot of the adversity in my life has come from struggling with anxiety. Like I talked about, it started, when I moved to Nashville, and it has continued throughout my life over the past, 15 years. I've struggled with anxiety. And I think for me, I kind of just give it to the Lord as much as I can, knowing that sometimes I'm going to feel better and sometimes I'm not, but I just have to keep going. Like if I feel like a wave of anxiety hit me right before I walk on stage, I just do it scared. Courage is not like, I don't feel scared anymore. Courage is doing something even when you're scared. And so for me, I've just trusted that if God has called me to be somewhere, if I'm supposed to sing at this event or do this concert and I feel anxiety, flood me in the moment before I walk on stage, I just take a deep breath and just know that God has called me to do this and he's not going to let me down. That has taken a lot of practice and a lot of time to be able to do, without feeling so nervous and just, I don't know, just seeing it for what it is and trusting the Lord. I think too, in the times that I've been the most anxious have been the times when I have not been prioritizing time with God and just kind of been really busy or really stressed or had a lot going on, and just realized that, man, I'm starting every day by like picking up my phone and not talking to God, or I'm not involved in my church community right now, whatever it is. I feel like to have good people around you who can lovingly call you out when you need to be with God, or to speak his truth into your life when you can't see it. And then also just being still before the Lord and just letting him work on me. That's how I've made it through the darkest seasons of my life. And there have been many really hard times with anxiety when I was in college and during 2020 with COVID and everything. There's been a lot of adversity with anxiety and trying to be a performer and an artist and get up in front of people when I feel anxious. But God's been so faithful through it. And I see his faithfulness to me, even in those times that have been really hard.
So when you have this anxiety, when you have these anxiety attacks, tell me about one.
Yeah.
That just felt so overwhelming, and how you got through that.
Yeah. I don't know why this one sticks out, but one time I was going to a photo shoot and I was running late and I didn't know where I was going. It was like in downtown Nashville. I'd never been to this place, and feeling unprepared, feeling rushed, and feeling stressed are my anxiety triggers. And so I was just really panicking. It feels like there's like a heavy weight on my chest. Like I almost can't draw a full breath. It feels like my brain is on train tracks and I can't stop it. Like I'm heading toward an anxiety attack and I can't stop it. And so I was running late, and my husband recognized like what was going on, and he was like, "Hannah, I think you need to sit down on the bed for a second and just take a deep breath." So I sat down on the bed and I just took a few deep breaths, and I have a few like breathing techniques that I'll do. And I was late to the photo shoot, and I think I was like 15 minutes late, which I do not enjoy. But I knew that if I just went without taking that minute to sit down, and I probably wouldn't have if my husband hadn't told me to do it, but I think that I would have been way worse off for the rest of the day if I had just tried to drive there in the state of anxiety and panic that I was in. So just to take a moment and like sit down and breathe, to just be like, you know what? I'm either going to be late or I'm going to be anxious. Like there's really no other option. And so I got there, and guess what? I was late, but they weren't even ready for me anyways. So I still, was fine, like on time. And so I don't know. I feel like a lot of times it just kind of comes at the most inconvenient moments, whether I'm like about to walk on stage or if I need to go and I'm rushing to go to a photo shoot or whatever. It's, it comes at those times. But I think ultimately we just have to be safe and be peaceful, and people will understand because everyone's struggling. It's not just us. And I think the enemy loves to make you feel like, oh, you're struggling with this, you're the weakest one. Like of all the sinners, you're the worst one. And while that might be true, it's not helpful to think of in that moment. So I try to just know that people are going to give me grace. I try to give other people grace when they're struggling, and everything has turned out okay this far. The older I get, the more I'm like, I've made it 27 years fully alive and healthy and safe. So God's going to carry me through the rest of my life. And I can rest in that.
So when you realized you had this issue with anxiety, how did you discover that? And how did you get through that?
Yeah. So I discovered that I had anxiety when I was in college. I thought that everybody felt anxious. That's a funny thing about like things that are internal or like in our mind is we think like, oh, everybody feels that way, or, you know. But I was in college and I started having all these health issues that are related to anxiety, just like not feeling well, headaches, not sleeping well. And so I went to the doctor and they ran every single test that you can run. I mean, it was a crazy time. And all the tests came back totally normal. There was nothing that they could explain as far as like what was wrong with my body, but I felt so sick and so terrible. And anyways, so my doctor sat me down and he was like, okay, I think that you have anxiety. He was like, I'm not a therapist. I can't diagnose you, but I do think that he's like, it's in your head, but it's also in your body. So I'm not saying that as like a dismissive statement. I do think that your physical symptoms are caused by your anxious mind. And so he sent me to a therapist and I went, and she was like, okay, so tell me about like when you're going to an event, like what do you think about? And I was like, well, I think about how I could die on the way there. And then when I get there, I wonder about what the parking lot looks like. And I wonder where I'm going to park. And if I don't know what the parking lot looks like, I'll look it up on the internet and I'll zoom in on Google Maps so I can see what it looks like. And anyways, I just went through like my whole thought process and she was like, yeah, that's not normal. So anyways, she said that I could get on medication or I could just, like it seemed like I was high functioning even with anxiety. And so she was like, you could get on medication or you could just, do these breathing techniques, try to journal, try to go to bed at a good time every night and get enough sleep and, stuff like that. So I decided to do that and to just not take medication unless I really, really needed it. And sure enough, I feel like just as I grew more in my faith, as I let worship music just play throughout my dorm every single day, there were just a lot of things that all came together to really help me with that season of anxiety. And sure enough, my health issues started getting better. The more I sought peace in my life and the more I leaned on the Lord, like I will say that therapy has been really helpful for me, but nothing is as healing as the presence of God. There's nothing like just being with him. And so, yeah, that's kind of been my whole journey. I definitely still have anxious moments, but I would not say that I label myself as somebody that has anxiety. I feel like God has really brought me through that. And just like anybody, I have moments of anxiety and stress and panic still to this day, but I feel like I'm just so much better equipped to deal with those moments. And I feel grateful for this journey that he's brought me on, even though it's been really hard and up and down at times, but I've learned a lot about him through it.
By the way, you have a spider on your head.
Do I?
No, I'm just checking the anxiety.
Honestly, there would be a time in my life where I would have moved this mic and but listen, it's working.
I was just testing.
Oh, and I got here early today.
There you go.
I feel like it's been a good day so far. Yeah.
Paint a picture of what Christmas was like growing up in your home.
Yeah. Christmas for me was always a very busy time. Like I said, my parents were the worship leaders at church. So of course we were there for all the Christmas Eve services. Sometimes we did Christmas Day services. So we spent a lot of Christmas at church with our church family and serving at church, singing, playing, all that stuff. But also I grew up in Buffalo, New York, and I had both sides of my family like within an hour of where we lived. And so we always either went to my mom's parents' house or my dad's parents' house, and we would be with all my cousins and aunts and uncles, and it was always full of lots of noise and laughter and just the best memories growing up with my whole family around us. We had so many weird traditions like the pickle ornament on the tree and wearing matching pajamas and making special foods that we only had at Christmas. But I had the happiest childhood. Like I look back and I just am so thankful for the way that I grew up with my cousins and my brothers, and we just had such an amazing time. And I feel like Christmas reminds me of that every year. And we still all live near each other, my immediate family, but my cousins, we've all dispersed all over the country. And so Christmas for me was just busy, loud, noisy, fun, lots of fun traditions, lots of games. And it was just a really, really great time in my childhood. So I always look back fondly on that time.
The pickle ornament on the tree. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So basically, when I was a kid, either my mom or my grandmother would hide the special pickle ornament in the tree somewhere, usually in a hard place to see, like in the back of the tree, in the middle of the tree, whatever. And all of my cousins and my brothers and I would fight around the tree to try to find the pickle ornament, and whoever found it first would get an extra gift. And it was always something small, but you wanted that extra gift, so, and you especially wanted to beat all of the cousins. For me, my family has a bunch of boys and 3 girls, and so us 3 girls would always team up and try to find the ornament before the boys, and we did a lot of times. I think I have the record for the most pickle gifts. So anyways, fun times.
Is there a favorite classic Christmas song tied to a memory and tradition?
Yeah, I think for me it's Silent Night. Should I share that same story again?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think Silent Night is probably the song that's the most special to me. It's the first song that I ever sang in church. I was 4 years old, and my dad was the worship leader. And so he was like, Hannah, I want you to sing a solo on Christmas Eve. And so he had me come up on stage. I was wearing this sparkly purple dress, and I stood there with my little mic that was like half as big as my body. And I sang Silent Night in front of our whole church. And my dad was playing piano. And I remember it vividly. Like, I remember everything about it. I remember what my shoes looked like and the floor and the dress I was wearing, and looking to my right and seeing my dad playing the piano. And I just remember knowing that I should have been nervous, but I wasn't. I felt like it was just natural to be up there and to be with my dad. And it's just a special memory. And so every year when we sing that song, whether it's like at the end of a concert or if it's like the end of the Christmas Eve service, I feel like it just brings me back to that memory. And so it's one of my favorites, and one that I feel like just carries a lot of the peace of the Christmas season that I really love.
And this year you have a new Christmas project.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I'm releasing a Christmas single this year. It's a version of It Came Upon a Midnight Clear with my friend Austin French. I have always loved It Came Upon a Midnight Clear. It's such a beautiful, traditionally ballad, slow, kind of almost somber, but also hopeful song. And I was listening through a bunch of different Christmas songs trying to decide what I wanted to record this year. And I felt like there wasn't a version of It Came Upon a Midnight Clear that was kind of up-tempo and fun. And I love jazz. I always have since I was a kid. My grandfather is a huge jazz fan and also a jazz trumpet player, so he kind of got me into jazz growing up. And so I love jazz at Christmas time, especially. And so I called my friend Austin, and I was like, Austin, I want to do like a jazzy Christmas, It Came Upon a Midnight Clear. And are you down for that? I feel like your voice would be perfect for it. And he was like, absolutely, let's do it. So we worked with Keith Smith, who is Tasha Layton's husband, actually, which is funny. But Keith is an amazing musician. He plays trumpet, keys, drums, like everything. And so I felt like he'd be the perfect person to produce the song, and he did an amazing job. The musicians that played, the jazz musicians, were unbelievable. It was like such a highlight for me of just sitting there and watching them do what they were created to do. I think the take that we ended up going with was literally just from the beginning to the end, one singular take of them playing. No edits, nothing. It was just magical in that moment. Just so cool. And then Austin and I recorded our vocals for the song together in the same room, which we weren't planning on doing. We were just going to kind of sing the song together in the studio just to kind of get our bearings for who's singing what and what we want to do arrangement wise. But then we ended up having so much fun and just enjoying it so much. And it sounded so good, like just that in the moment energy and just the way we were singing it. And so Keith was like, let's just sing it together. And so we sang the whole vocal, everything that you hear on the track together in the same room. And it was just such a blast. It's probably in my top 3 favorite memories of my whole career like recording something, just because it felt like it came together so great. And I'm so proud of it. It's so fun. It carries such a lighthearted joy. And I feel like I need that at Christmas. And so I could not be more excited about this song. I feel like it's just really fun and a really special, beautiful lyric.
I think it had sort of a Charlie Brown Christmas vibe to it.
Yes, I love that. That's great.
Let's talk about some of your favorite Christmas songs.
Yeah.
What would be on your top 3 or 4 list?
Okay, it's hard to narrow them down. I love so many Christmas songs. I would say on my list is Breath of Heaven by Amy Grant. One of my all-time favorite Christmas songs. So beautiful. She sings it so well. It's just great. I love Rocking Around the Christmas Tree. It's just fun, and I don't know. I've just always loved that song. I have not recorded a version of that song, but it's on my list of something to do someday. And then everybody says this, but it's because it's worthy of being a favorite. Oh Holy Night is one of my favorite songs. You just can't do it a bad version. It's such a beautiful song. I love the melodies of that song. You have to be quite a vocalist to sing that song. And when it's done well, it's just like chef's kiss, just so beautiful and perfect. So at the current moment, I would say those are my favorite Christmas songs.
What is it about Christmas that, despite anything and everything we seem to be going through, things kind of just sort of settle down, and become very peaceful for that last week or so of the year? How would you frame that? I mean, why can't we have that the other 51 weeks a year?
I know. I agree. We should have it all the time, every year. I think at Christmas, it's just a closeness, a nearness of God's presence. And I think he's near to us all the time. But I think at Christmas, we are so tuned in to the story of Jesus and tuned into the fact that he desires to be with us even more than we want to be with him. And for me, that just is a reminder that I need every year. Just the peace of the God of the universe coming down because he wants to be with us. He wants to restore a relationship with us. And that's why Jesus came. And I think at Christmas, it's just a special reminder of that. And we need that because when life is crazy and when we feel like we're in the middle of a deep darkness, we need the light of Jesus and the reminder that he has come and he has brought peace and joy. We need that at Christmas. And I think it's just a great time to remember that God is Emmanuel. He is with us. And that's his name. I mean, you can't get any more true than your name. And so I think just that reminder of the closeness of God is something that we need and something that brings that peace that we're missing the rest of the year. And I don't think we're missing it because God's not giving it. I think we're missing it because we are not open to it. We're not ready for it. We get busy with our schedules and taking our, kids to soccer practice. And I mean, I don't have kids, but they're just, we're doing so many things. We're in the middle of so many things. And I think we're not looking for God, the way that we are at Christmas. And so I love that. I feel such a tenderness and a nearness toward the Lord at Christmas. And, it's one of my favorite things about it.
So as we look into the new year, what's in store for you coming ahead in 2025?
I don't know. A lot of things, I'm sure. I just released a new album. And so I'm kind of just touring that album. I'm going to be out on the road with Big Daddy Weave this whole fall. And which you might be hearing this at Christmas, so that tour would probably be over by now. But
you just say it was phenomenal.
Yeah, the tour was phenomenal, man. What an incredible experience. But I already have some shows booked for 2025, so I'm excited about those and excited to sing new songs and just get to share what God's been doing in my life. I'm hoping to start a podcast, so I'm hoping that'll come out in 2025, just like everyone.
What do you want to do on a podcast?
So my idea for the podcast is It would be called In the Middle of It with Hannah Kerr. I have a song called Same God, and in the chorus it says, "You're with me in the middle of it all, God." And I just feel like a lot of times as Christians, we want to talk about a situation when it's over and done. We want to talk about our struggles in past tense and, when we can tie it up in a perfect bow. But I want to do a podcast that just ask people, what are you in the middle of? And it's me sharing what I'm in the middle of right then, whether it's being in the middle of a tour or in the middle of a season of anxiety or whatever it is, just sharing real, raw, this is what I'm in the middle of, and this is where I see God in the middle of it. So just having like friends and guests come on and just kind of talk about really what's going on. I don't want it to be like a fluffy Christian podcast where we're just like, man, that was so good. Like, I want it to be real, and I want it to be something that people can listen to if they're in the middle of that season too, and can feel less alone. So I'm excited about that.
So what are you in the middle of right now?
Right now, I'm in the middle of preparing to go on the road. We are leaving in a week to go on this tour, and there's so much prep that goes into that. Ordering t-shirts and necklaces and, getting CDs shipped in and sending out a bunch of orders. Like, there's just so much that goes into preparing for a tour. So I'm kind of in the middle of that right now. Yeah. And I feel like I'm also just in the middle of a joyful season. Like, my family is, fall is always just like a fun time for our family. And I have 2 nephews being born this year. And so we're in the middle of like a bunch of baby showers and just preparing for like these 2 new little boys that are going to join our family. And, so that's been really fun. And
boy, you're in the middle of, this is a lot better than mine. I'm in the middle of my taxes.
My goodness. No, yes.
I'd rather be playing with the nephews than doing my taxes. So
I need to send my taxes in today. Thank you for that reminder.
There you go. Now, look what I brought up.
Apparently I'm in the middle of that too. I know. I need to text my husband and be like, we need to send out our taxes today. They're done. They just need to be sent.
Well, thank you for stopping by. This has been fun getting to know you a little bit.
Thanks for having me. This was awesome. Thanks for your thoughtful questions.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you and appreciate your music, and just keep it up.
Thanks. Merry Christmas.
Likewise. And thanks again, Hannah. We can't wait to have you join us on the Keep the Faith Countdown to Christmas Marathon. That's going to be on Thanksgiving weekend. So it'll be airing on Christian stations all across the country. And of course, she's also going to co-host our Keep the Faith Christmas Marathon during the Christmas week. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have all kinds of goodies for you. And I know that you won't want to miss that. This has been CIA, Contagious Influencers of America, from the producers of Keep the Faith, the #1 syndicated faith-based show in all of the nation. Please do rate and review us, and give this podcast 5 stars if you would. I want to continue to be employed. And also, you can check out our website at KeepTheFaith.com, where you're going to find all kinds of Christmas goodies. And if you'd like to listen to more of these podcasts, you can check out ContagiousInfluencers.com. I'm David Sams, and this has been CIA, Contagious Influencers of America. Hey, do me a favor. This week, go out there and live that life in living color, because it sure is a heck of a lot more interesting than living it in black and white. I'll see you next time.